Hi. Tornadoes are one of the most destructive kinds of natural hazards. They occur not just at one spot, right? They don't just touch down and go up. Some of them do, but one of the reasons why they're so destructive is that they actually move across the landscape. So there's that going on a local scale. On a regional or a continental scale, especially in North America, tornadoes have a definite track. They have a pattern, depending on the month of the year and also the particular air masses at the time of the storm. And for these reasons and many others, tornadoes are perfectly suitable to be analyzed in the context of a GIS, or Geographic Information System. So let's talk about how we might use something like ArcGIS Online to analyze the distribution of tornadoes and the pattern of tornadoes on a national scale. And also we'll take a look at some patterns sort of at a small scale, sort of zoomed back, and then we'll zoom in and look at the pattern on a larger scale. And we'll also consider things like proximity to cities, proximity to coasts, proximity to mountains, and how that impacts the distribution spatially of tornadoes. Let's get started.
To begin our investigation, let's start with the ESRI GIS education community out at edcommunity.esri.com. There are a whole host of things out here on the Ed community: how to connect with your colleagues using GIS in education, tools, software, data. But one of the things, and the thing that we're going to look at right now, is under instructional materials. Let's go to ARC Lessons. This is a library of different lessons. And I'm going to look at tornado here and do a search. Investigating historical tornadoes. That's the one I want. There's a little bit of metadata about what this lesson is all about. And so I'm going to go ahead and download the file. And here is the data set that appears when we download the file. I've got some text information, which is basically a set of data about what this lesson is all about. The summary, the objectives, the software used, etc. That's good to know. Also, there are two documents. They have the same name, but one is a doc file and one is a PDF. Why is that? Well, I included the doc file so that if you like this lesson but you want to modify it, you can easily do so in Word. I also included the PDF. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDF. Here is the PDF, Investigating Historical Tornadoes, using ArcGIS Online. In this lesson, you will use ArcGIS Online to investigate historical tornadoes. The same lesson also invites you to look at one modern-day tornado, which we'll look at in a separate video, in a separate activity. But let's just take the first part of this activity. We're going to work with maps and data to understand the distribution and impact of tornadoes in the USA. This lesson uses ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Explorer Online. Because these tools run entirely online, all you need is a web browser to view it and to use it. This activity can be used at a variety of levels, from secondary extending into university level. Questions could be modified depending on the level targeted. Students should be familiar with maps and some basics of physical and cultural geography to effectively use the lesson. These questions and problems can be posed by an instructor in a one-computer classroom with a projector, engaging the students in discussion while using the ArcGIS Online tools, or in a computer lab setting where the students are working on their own computers. In a lab setting, students can work independently or in groups through these problems. I also have some extensions listed where you can take this investigation into the next step and beyond. So let's go ahead and get started. The activity says that we need to use ArcGIS Online. So let's go ahead and fire up ArcGIS Online. That's just arcgis.com. And it says that we're going to search for web content only, which is what I've got right up here in the upper right. And we're going to use the search tool terms USA Historical Tornadoes Owner Federal User Community. Why do I have such a long string to search for? Well, simply because there are so many tornadoes data sets, and indeed so many data sets period, inside ArcGIS Online, that if I narrow my search terms, I'll get exactly what I want. And there's my results, USA historical tornadoes. Let's go ahead and open in ArcGIS.com. Click this button to get the legend. Excellent. We're all set to get going. There's our data set. We've got our lesson, which is right here running beside, right here. And we're going to go ahead and start the investigation. This map layer shows tornado touchdown points in the United States, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands from 1950 to 2004 from the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center. Again, it's important to encourage your students to really dig into the data. Where did it come from? Who created it, and why? The SPC data, Storm Prediction Center from the National Weather Service, originate from the Severe Thunderstorm Database and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Storm Data Publication. Tornado points show at a scale of 1 to 5 million and larger. Tornado occurrences are colored by decade and sized by tornado strength based on the Fujita scale. The National Tornado Tracks layer shows tornado tracks from 1950 to 2006 at a scale of 1 to 800,000 and larger. So we'll dig into that in a moment. Examine the legend. Do some research on the Fujita scale. What are Fujita scale 4 and 5 tornadoes? How destructive are they? What do you see so far, folks? What surprises you? What patterns here confirm what you thought it would be looking like, and what patterns disprove or go against what you thought this would look like? Knowing that the tornadoes shown on the map are only the largest Category 4 and 5 tornadoes on the Fujita scale, do you think any tornadoes occur in the western USA? At this scale, it doesn't look like maybe more than 1 or 2 do. But as we zoom in, we might see a different story. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. As we zoom in, we see some interesting patterns in the central and southeast U.S., but our particular question is, do any tornadoes occur, have any tornadoes occurred in the western United States? So let's, for example, look at Colorado. As I zoom in, I do see some in Colorado. You know, there are so many things here as far as shaded relief and so on. Maybe I could change the base map. I can do that easily by the Base Map tab, and let's go with a light gray canvas. That way I just see some major cities and county lines. So I do see some tornadoes out here in Colorado. Interesting. What about in other locations? Let's go over to Utah. I do see some tornadoes there as well. So, yes, there have been tornadoes, but as I look at the legend here, I'm now seeing some 2s and 3s in the Fujita scale. I'm not just seeing the larger ones. So these out here, and if I click on one of the tornadoes, I can do some further investigations. Here's a Fujita scale of 2. It happened in 1955 at a latitude of 39 and a longitude of 111. And I also have the data on where it touched down and where it lifted off, where it rose back up, and the length and the width. So it's not just the length that's destructive, but it's also the width. Stay tuned. We're going to investigate this at a larger scale in a moment. How far was the closest tornado, according to this data set, to where you live? How far was it away, and in what direction from where you live? So, for example, I'm over here in Denver. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Our ESRI office is up here in Broomfield, Colorado, which is right in here. Here's Broomfield. It looks like there was a tornado there in 1988 with a Fujita scale of 2. There was another tornado down here in 1996 with a Fujita scale of 0. It wasn't even recorded. Looks like this 1988 tornado was the largest one in this area. So you do the same thing for your location.